Hi, I'm Joe. In the last 3 months, I've lost over 24 pounds, and I'm going to lose more. Today, I want to talk about some important things that I learned and the strategies that I use and have used to achieve this. We're going to talk about goals, timeline, methods, and accountability. Let's dive right in. Goals. Do you have any weight loss goals? I did. I wanted to look better in a swimsuit. I want to get a six-pack, and I want to be able to fit into old clothing, take a notch off the belt. I also didn't know this, but losing 10 pounds, let alone 20 pounds, has made me feel a lot better. I can breathe, move, run, and exercise easier with little or no pain when I used to have plenty of it, and I even feel more energetic all the time. So, set some goals. If you don't set goals, then you don't have any method, and you're not really following a plan. Timeline. How long is it going to take you to meet your goals? Well, we can actually calculate this pretty easily. Your body uses a certain amount of energy every day. This is known as your total daily energy expenditure, total daily energy expenditure, and this is known as your TDEE. It's the acronym. To measure your TDEE, get a good estimate of it, you need your height, age, gender, body weight, and body fat percentage. If you have all of those things, you can run them through the Catch-McCardle formula, and that will give you a very accurate estimate of your TDEE. Let's say that your TDEE is 2,000 calories, and that you want to burn 1 pound of fat per week. Well, a pound of fat is approximately 3,500 calories. So, you need to eat less calories than you consume, or rather, you need to consume less calories than you use. If you do that, your body will look to get the calories that it's not getting from food elsewhere, and it's going to get that from your fat, hopefully. This lack of calories is called a deficit. If you have a 500 calorie deficit every day, then in 1 week, you'll have lost 3,500 calories and thus a pound of fat. All right, how are you going to get this deficit? We've talked about goals and timeline. Now let's talk about methods. I want to cover 3: calorie counting, exercise, and fasting. For calorie counting, it's simply measuring the food that you put into your body. How many calories was it? And let's say you have a caloric target, like if your TDEE is 2,000 and you want to lose a pound of fat per week, then you're trying to eat only 1,500 calories per day, because 1,500 is 500 less than 2,000, gives you a 500 calorie deficit. Well, then you have to budget all of those 1,500 calories across all the food you're going to eat in a day. So if you have 3 meals in a day, then you're going to be budgeting 500 calories per meal, for example. All right, in addition to caloric targets, you also have macronutrient targets. You have to get some fat because fat is necessary for your endocrine system and hormone production. Aim to get between 30 and 40 grams of fat per day. Additionally, you're going to want to get protein. A general rule of thumb is to get a gram of protein per pound of lean body mass. So lean body mass is simply your body weight minus your body fat percentage. So if you were 100 pounds and you have a 30% body fat percentage, then you have 70 pounds of lean muscle mass, and so you would want to get 70 grams of protein per day. Let's talk about carbohydrates. So while you don't really need carbohydrates, the keto diet exists after all. There's a lot of reasons to get them. They help with anaerobic exercise, like lifting weights and running and sprinting. And you get fiber from carbohydrates, which helps with your gut in multiple ways. So people often say that carbs are bad, but what they really mean is that simple carbs are bad, like white bread, sugar, candy, milkshakes, soda. And they are bad because your body processes them very quickly since they're simple. And that spikes your insulin, which can cause diabetes. And you'll get hungrier quicker because the food was processed quicker. So you want to avoid simple carbs, but you do want to get complex carbs like vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, beans, and such. Those are really good for you. And they provide dietary fiber, which is also really good for you. So you do want carbohydrates, but you don't want simple carbohydrates. Keto, I want to address keto for a second. Keto is not some magical thing that breaks the law of thermodynamics. You still need a calorie deficit to lose weight. So even if you put your body into ketosis, where it's burning fat for fuel, it's fat adapted, you still have to be consuming less energy than you're expelling or using, or you won't lose weight. So even if you're on keto, you still need a calorie deficit. In fact, no matter what you do, you need a calorie deficit if you want to lose weight. All right, now that we've talked about calorie counting, let's talk about another tool in our tool shed for creating a calorie deficit, and that's exercise. There's two main kinds of exercise, anaerobic and aerobic. Aerobic exercise is the kind of exercise that you can do for a pretty extended duration, and that can include things like walking and biking, anything you can really sustain. This is often referred to in forums as LISS, for low intensity steady state cardio. Anaerobic exercise is something you can't sustain for very long, like sprinting, maybe running, lifting weights. You've got to take a break. And gasp for breath. Both of these forms of exercise are good for you. They both burn calories. They both have lots of benefits. I like to run 3 times a week, but I like to walk every day. I run 12 miles a week, but I walk 86 or 84. So you want both, but you want a lot more aerobic exercise. All right, let's talk about the last tool in our tool shed for creating a calorie deficit. And that's fasting, which is simply abstaining from eating for an undefined amount of time. So the benefits of fasting can include reduced insulin. So your body creates insulin to help process food. Or when you eat food, your body spikes your blood insulin levels. So when you don't eat food, your insulin levels go down. And if you don't eat food long enough, they go down really low. There are plenty of cases of people with diagnosed type 2 diabetes where they're using insulin shots and everything, reversing the diabetes and not needing insulin shots anymore from fasting. So fasting reduces your insulin levels. It also boosts your human growth hormone, which helps with muscle synthesis. People say that fasting gets rid of the brain fog. When you eat food, it takes energy to process the food. So when you're not processing food, you're got more energy cleared up for other functions. So people talk about having clarity of mind when they haven't eaten for a while. And finally, autophagy. Autophagy is a process your body goes through where when it's looking for food and it doesn't have any, it will scrounge around and find old cells that need to be retired, and it'll eat those. So auto meaning self and phagy meaning consume self. You won't really get autophagy though unless you do an extended fast, and that leads me to the 2 different kinds of fasting. So there's time-restricted eating, otherwise known as intermittent fasting, and then there's extended duration fasts. Time-restricted eating fasts essentially have a window of fasting and a window of feeding. So a 16-8 fast would be 16 hours of fasting and 8 hours of eating. 24 would be 20 hours of fasting, 4 hours of eating. There's even OMAD, 1 meal a day, where it's basically 23 hours of fasting and 1 hour of eating. Besides TRE, there's also extended fasting. You can essentially fast as long as you've got fat to sustain you, and water and minerals. So people do rolling 48s and 76s, where they don't eat for 48 or 76 hours, and then they eat. Maybe they eat 1 meal, maybe they eat for a day or a week, and then they do it again. They just keep doing it. That's why it's called rolling. And some people have fasted for 5, 10 days, 30 days. There was a Scottish guy who fasted for almost 400 days. He was under the supervision of hospital staff, lost all the weight, and lived out a happy life. If you do an extended fast, you're going to need to supplement your body with electrolytes, which are basically just salts. If you don't do this, bad things will happen. All right. And you don't need to supplement electrolytes for time-restricted eating. You only need to think about electrolytes for fasts that go beyond 3 to 5 days. Okay, now that we know about ways to lose fat and we have our goals and our timeline, let's talk about accountability. How are you actually going to measure your progress and know if you're getting anywhere? Well, you're going to be weighing yourself, so you'll eventually have a chart showing your weight going up or down. You can make decisions based on that to course correct or keep doing the right thing. You're going to want to track the calories you're consuming, so you're going to enter the calories that you eat into an app. And that way you can get charts showing how much you eat on a day-by-day and week-by-week basis. You're going to want to track your exercise. That's really easy if you get a wearable like an Apple Watch or a Fitbit. A note about those, they used to be very inaccurate, but their accuracy has grown a lot recently thanks to new hardware and better sensor data. And to do all this, there are plenty of apps available. I use Strava and MyFitnessPal, but there's also Map My Run, Nike Run Club, Lose It, and a million others. Okay, so today we talked about weight loss goals, how long you can expect for it to take before you lose that weight, methods that you can use to lose weight, which would include calorie counting, exercising, and fasting, which I do all three, and accountability, keeping yourself accountable by measuring your progress. Hope you learned something.